Wow, that's good. 7:40 in the morning, and we're all awake and alert, and so thank you all for being here. My name is Andy Bannon. I'm Associate Vice President for College Advancement and Executive Director of the GRCC Foundation, and we are absolutely thrilled to have you all here this morning to come out and learn about this campaign that we have ahead of us. A big job with great returns for this community. We can't do it without you. And this morning, we're going to be talking about our work together on behalf of Grand Rapids Community College and on behalf of our community. There are a lot of folks here in the room, and we want to acknowledge all of you for the hard work that you've done in the past for us, the work that you do now, and the work that we have ahead of us. And we say thank you to all of you for that. This morning, I've got a couple groups that I'd like to recognize right from the beginning, and that is, first of all, our Grand Rapids Community College Board of Trustees. And if you'd stand, please, so we can acknowledge you. And then we have many members of the Grand Rapids Community College Foundation Board of Directors, and if you'd just quickly stand, that'd be great as well. We're blessed to have such tremendous leaders that come alongside us on a volunteer basis, and now you are a part of our ranks working together for our community. This morning, we have a number of things ahead of us, and our goal and our commitment to you is at 9 o'clock you're walking out the door because we know you've all got busy days ahead of you. This morning, we want to spend a few minutes talking about the need. Why are we here? This morning, we're here in one of our newest spaces, one of our newest additions to the Grand Rapids Community College campus. But we want to talk about the needs. We want to talk about the college to kind of give you all a starting point in terms of your understanding of who GRCC is and how we serve the community. We want to talk about the project that's ahead of us. We want to talk about and introduce you to some of the leadership of our campaign and hear their support and encouragement for us as a cabinet. And then we will take questions and answers as we roll out the campaign at the end of the meeting. So that's our task ahead of us. And it's my pleasure this morning to introduce to you our campaign chair. 4.5 years ago, when I moved over and started my work with the foundation, early on in our work, I had the privilege of meeting him. And he's an alum who is passionate about GRCC and is passionate about the work that we do in serving students in this community and sees the tremendous opportunity that we have in front of us to do just that. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Bezzetta.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to look into the audience and see so many familiar faces. You people are the people that time after time, I know because we continue to be in philanthropic and charitable positions over the years, and I see the same faces there helping out over and over again. And to you, I want to thank you for what you've done for this community. I want to thank you for what you are doing. And I want to thank you for what you will do in the future. But at the same time, when I look in the audience, I see some new faces. And that is encouraging also, because those of you who for the first time are stepping up and starting to contribute to community activities, you will find as the definition of stewardship teaches us that the true gift is in giving, not in receiving. So again, to all of you, thank you for being here this morning. GRCC Works. Ask anyone. Ask Jim Bezzetta. I'm a graduate of Ottawa Hills High School in 1972, and at that point in time, I wanted to be a doctor. And my path carried me through Grand Rapids Community College, which at that time was junior college, Grand Rapids Junior College, or JC. From there, I went on to the University of Michigan. I came here because I could get my basic credits here, and it was quite a bargain, as it still is today, comparatively speaking. went on to the University of Michigan, went on to med school, came back into town, practiced, became a doctor, fulfilled my dream. And it started here at community college. There were professors here. I was talking with a couple of you earlier. People like Dr. Ron Edwards, my organic chemistry teacher, Dr. Ann Miller, my comparative anatomy and embryology teacher, and Nancy Klaus, who introduced me to still my love of art history. These were teachers that made such an impact on me. Wonderful. In 4 years of undergraduate training, 4 years of graduate medical school, 4 years of postgraduate training, these professors impacted my life, not only academically, but they taught me how to be a better person. And ironically, I kept friends with every one of them into adult life. Very unusual. But it started here. That's the kind of teaching, that's the kind of impact. You know, students can continue today to use community college as a stepping stone to some of the wonderful four-year colleges that are here in the state or beyond. Such schools as the University of Michigan, which community college started in 1914 as a feeder school at the University of Michigan. But today it feeds many colleges, of which many in the room also help and participate in. Grand Valley, Hope, Calvin, Aquinas, Michigan State, on and on. So there's wonderful things that contribute. Kids not only start by going through 2 years of academic training to go on to four-year schools, but it's also a place where students that maybe didn't do well in high school have an opportunity to reset themselves. There's kids that can come here that maybe don't have aspirations for academia, but rather for vocational skills. And community college can help them with that. And then, of course, in this environment, there are people who, you know, adults who need to be retrained to get another chance because of what the world's been doing. So this is a jewel. I know Dave Custer and I, another alum who you'll hear from later, we always get excited and talk passionately when we start talking about community college because we feel fondly about it. And it's amazing. And we always say, there's so many great things going on, we got to keep getting this message out. It's a jewel. And to that, I'd like to go through a few of the slides to give you some information about community college that you might not know. And I would like to also talk to you a little bit about the needs. And from here, I apologize, I'm going to go a little bit from script. So as you can see, CC was created in 1914 as a feeder school at the University of Michigan. It's the oldest community college in the state of Michigan, and it's also one of the oldest in the United States. CC will serve 30,000 plus students this year and offer 150 degrees and certificate programs and annually serves 600 plus employers. Next, please. Prior to President Steve Ender coming on board, community college had been turning away more than 1,000 students each fall. And to him, and I echo this, turning away students is unacceptable. It smacks in the face of community college, what it is, and its mission. Community college has made the commitment to no longer turn away any first-time, full-time student. The growth of CC in recent years has been significant. Looking forward, community college anticipates a 25% increase in students over the next 5 years. Incredible growth. Well, the need now comes into play. Part of the challenge for community college is serving its students is space. You're actually sitting in one of the current solutions. Last spring, community college acquired the Fulton campus of Davenport University right here. And it's a great facility, but as you can see, needs a little work. Grand Rapids CC also provides this community with nurses, dental hygienists, dental assistants, radiologic technologists, occupational therapy assistants each year. Their lab and clinics are lagging behind the industry. We need these students to be well prepared and equipped to serve the community, you and me. GRCC students transfer to incredible four-year universities, as I stated before, and there's many of them. And many of our classrooms no longer support the excellent teaching that is taking place there. Community college students and the community utilize the Ford Fieldhouse every day. There are some 4,000 students that take wellness classes. GRCC competes in several college athletic programs, men and women's basketball, football, baseball, softball, women's volleyball, and tennis. Their facilities are inadequate for meeting the needs of college-level athletes. If you look around some of the high schools in the surrounding suburbs, they have incredible athletic facilities. CC's facilities for wellness and athletics don't measure up to even those high schools. The reality is, GRCC works. Ask anyone. You know, about a year ago, I was asked to participate in a presidential search. And it was an honor and a pleasure. I met a lot of wonderful people. And at that time, Juan Alvarez, the past president, who was a wonderful man, did a lot of things for the college, had moved on. And I think the college looked at the opportunity to find someone to take it to the next level. And as you can see, community college has a lot of wonderful, we went through some of the statistics, and in those people that are in the space, in that junior college space, this is a very great institution, and the job of presidency is one that's desirable. And as a result, we got a lot of great applications. And we took it seriously, and we looked at a lot of different people. And in my estimation, I think we got the creme de la creme with Steve Ender. When you make a selection, you're never sure, though, how the individual is going to turn out until they roll up their sleeves and get into it. And all I can say is that, in my opinion, he's making that committee look awfully good. This man basically is intelligent and articulate. He's a tireless worker. He's a visionary. And plays a pretty good golf game. And it's really a privilege and an honor to call him a friend. Please welcome me, or please help me welcome our 9th president of Grand Rapids Community College, Dr. Steve Ender.
I really wish I had brought my wife along this morning. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be with you this morning. And Jim, I'd like to thank you for extending your talent and time and commitment to the college by serving as our chairperson. Jim is one of many people that I've met in this town that really have a passion for this college, that has firsthand knowledge that GRCC does work. It's amazing to me when I came to town, and it continues, the degrees of freedom of this college to an individual is probably 1 or 2. I mean, anyone I meet has a connection to this college in some way, and it's rather remarkable. And in some ways, I think the college, because we're so inwoven into the fabric of Grand Rapids, we're not taken for granted, but we are here. And I will tell you, if this community college was not here, Grand Rapids would be a different place. And I think we would not appreciate that place the way we appreciate the town that we live in today. I'm going to try to put the campaign in a little bit of context around the work that we believe that we can do as a result of the accomplishment of this campaign. You've heard folks speak about enrollment at this institution. Our enrollment is record-breaking. I lead an enterprise that is a growth enterprise with declining revenue. And that's the challenge that we face, and that's the challenge that we're going to ask you to help us overcome from the perspective of our facilities. This winter term, our enrollment will exceed fall term by about 13%. Historically, our winter term is about 80% of our fall enrollment. That's just, for us, incredible. And in practical terms, it means that we hired about 330 adjunct faculty in arts and sciences, another 120 adjunct faculty in our workforce development program. So our staff and faculty are in many ways heroically responding to the growth that this college faces. And in the area that we really believe we need significant help so that the quality of the teaching that we do needs to be matched with the quality of the facilities that our students are learning in. And that's the gap that this campaign will close, in my estimation. And we pick up students in lots of different ways. You may have read in the paper or seen in the news yesterday or earlier this week, because the story broke, I think, on Tuesday, Grand Rapids Community College, partnering with several agencies in the city of Grand Rapids, has just been awarded a $4 million two-year grant through federal stimulus money out of the Department of Labor to take 1,000 of our neighbors who are living in the depths of poverty and put them to work. And that accomplishment is all about people working together, quite frankly. There's 7 or 8 other agencies in town that we are partnering with to get that work done, to identify those folks, to get them into the pipeline, to create a pathway for them from a GED or English as a second language or coming out of prison to work, sustainable work. And okay, 1,000 more students. Where are we going to put them? You know, and that's the type of action that is occurring around here, and that's one of the reasons I believe this campaign is so very, very important. I'd like to go to more of the specifics of the campaign itself. Now let's go to the next slide, if we could, Andy. This visually kind of helps us understand the projects and where they're located, and then this whole notion of trying to tie together the campus on Lyon, and in that area, what we now call the campus, to now the acquisition of the Davenport University campus on Fulton Street. And we're going to need to figure out how to make that a GRCC campus on Fulton Street, and this campaign, I hope, will accomplish that mission. And we're also trying to tie these two physical spaces together so you have much more sense of connectivity between what we now see as the main campus and now the campus that we've acquired. The projects, and Andy, perhaps we can go specifically to the next slide. If we start here on the former Davenport campus, you're looking at the Cook Administration Building. Remember, we acquired this facility for $12.5 million. To me, I think a real estate deal of the century from my perspective, given the square footage that we picked up and 500 odd parking spaces, which for an urban institution, they're as good as gold from my perspective. And in this building, we're probably going to move what we would call back of the house services of the campus, our accounting department, our HR department, some direct services for students may end up in this building. Very little work needs to be done on the Cook Administration Building site. We're in the academic building, the main academic building at the Davenport campus called Sneeden Hall. We've already done considerable work in this building as we acquired it. As we all know, when real estate changes hands, laws that were in effect that didn't affect the former owner now affect the owner that's acquiring the property. And so we went through some of those hoops as we acquired this property. In fact, we borrowed $12.5 million to purchase Davenport. The actual sales price was about 9.5. And so it gave us some money to begin to work with immediately. And we've spent that renovation money down to about 1.3 million at this time. So we do have dollars available from that bond to continue with more substantial renovation work. If we move on, Warren Hall, which is connected to Sneeden, we envision moving probably 4 academic programs in total, departments, the department chairs, the administrative support staff, and the faculty to Davenport. And we want to do that in a way that we bring programs that, for cross-disciplinary purposes, the synergy of those faculty being in close proximity to one another makes a lot of sense academically. And we're in the final stages of determining those departments. But we, in our mind's eye, actually see Warren Hall, which is connected physically to this academic building, as the faculty home for those disciplines that we will move up here. And this will be, I believe, when we're done, a rather significant renovation project to provide the type of quality work environment for our faculty and staff that they deserve. And then if we go to, now, projects, when you're in this business, you have a plan going in, and then you work with donors, and truly, you know, it's like me and my job. I love my job, and I get paid for it. Well, for a donor, I love to give money to the college, and if we can give it to something I'm really interested in, that's just a win-win-win. So projects come on the radar screen that are necessary, but perhaps we weren't quite ready to move on. This particular house on this campus with 12,000 plus square footage space, we have many interested folks in Grand Rapids that really support early childhood education. It is a passion for them. Well, we run a lab school, and we run it out of a church, and those facilities, I won't say inadequate, but clearly the children that are coming into those programs, it would be nice to have better space to really offer a quality experience for them. So this building offers us the opportunity to move our entire preschool program that we run and the faculty to a facility that we envision, quite frankly, and architects can do anything, gutting the interior of this building and then creating a state-of-the-art early childhood education program. So this is a project that you won't see as the 4 main projects, that is quickly coming on as the 5th project of the campaign. That, in my mind, would be a cool playhouse, you know. It's like everybody keeps looking at this carriage house. What are you going to do with that? I said, man, if I was a kid and that was my playhouse, that would be really cool. I mean, this allows us to dream that way, quite frankly, and to create a playground for these children where right now they walk across the street to go to their playground, across Fountain Street. It's just not a good situation. It provides, with the Mabel Ingle property and the access and egress off of Fulton, that little turnaround, a beautiful place for families to come in, park the car, bring the kids in. It just sets up very nice for us. And then finally, the Lettinger House, to be determined. Again, I can think of several needs that this institution has that are not a part of this capital campaign, but again, as we work with folks that are interested in helping to move the college forward, at the end of the day, we could see some action occurring here as a result of the campaign. So that's the work that we envision here, and then if we move down to the campus proper, there'll be, in our estimation, about $10 million worth of renovation work to the Cook Academic Building. And Cook, through the generosity of Mr. Cook, we were able to renovate the first floor of that building, and that project allowed us working, well, quite frankly, allowed the faculty working with what they believe to be best practices in teaching and learning to really redesigned learning space. And if you walk through the first floor at Cook, or then any of the other floors in Cook or the main building, you will walk from energetic, driven environment, a lot of activity. You'll see a lot of students working with each other or with lab coordinators or tutors or a very open space. It's really pretty incredible to see what happens when you open space up, quite frankly. Students grouping together over here, or a faculty member meeting with a student over here, not in a classroom, but in more of an open laboratory environment. We envision taking the remaining floors in Cook and creating similar environments, but dedicated to allied health and mathematics. We really want to bring all our allied health programs together in one place. So now we're talking about laboratories, we're talking about equipment. There'll be, I am sure, a minimum of $10 million spent on this project when we're completed. And on the main campus, it will be the first project that we want to start because of the dominoes of renovation and work has to still go on. So we'll be staging people in and out of facilities, and as we finish floors and buildings, bringing them back in, but then we have to then move people that are in the second building somewhere else. It's going to be, I would think, 4 to 8 years of, you just live through that kind of stuff because you know on the other side it's well worth the pain that you might incur in the short term. We've already done a lot of conceptual work with Cook and as around allied health because we were going to build a new building that would have been up on Lion Street across from the athletic field that would have been dedicated to allied health. So faculty have already worked pretty hard with our facility planning folks and with architects to the point that we do have some conceptual drawings that are already on board. So we think we can kickstart this project pretty quickly, quite frankly. So we would move from Cook then to the main building. This is the oldest building on campus. Those of you that came to the junior college may remember it as Davis Tech. This was the college. It's received little attention since you left, quite frankly. And again, we want to really revitalize this building to be a state-of-the-art teaching and learning facility. The estimation out there is $10 million. I'm just not sure about that number, but I know we can get a lot of work done for $10 million. But there is a lot of work that needs to be done in the main building. And then finally, the fourth project of this campaign proper is the Ford Fieldhouse. We've done no work in that facility since it was built in 1970. So the immediate work we'd like to do is really put a facelift on the arena portion, which is one of our front doors, if you will. A lot of both student and community involvement in that arena. And then we have a portion of the field house that at one point was dedicated to handball and racquetball. We really see turning those courts into wellness facilities and training facilities for our phys ed staff folks. So if we put all the projects together, and this is what I love about this capital campaign, we could have built a new building that would have housed allied health and education. It would have been on Lion. It would have cost $35.1 million. It would have encompassed 90,000 square feet and less than 100 parking spaces. If we take $34 million or $1.1 million less than the new building, we can sustain now Cook, Maine, significant work on the Ford Fieldhouse, acquire Davenport, pick up 540 parking spaces, pick up 60,000 square footage space that we can work with over what a new building would have given us, and we save $1 million in the process. And I think this is the sort of evidence that we need to constantly put in front of taxpayers that we are very sensitive to their money, and we want to use it as good stewards, and this seems to me what a good steward would do, quite frankly. So this is very, very impactful to me personally, that we are able to do this kind of work. I've never been involved in a capital campaign of this magnitude, that from the perspective of kind of being on the point in some way. And I found it when I first came. It's interesting when you come to work as a new president and they tell you, we're going to do a capital campaign, and you go, oh, okay, that'll be great. You know, that's but we're going to do it right now, you know. Oh, well, that's interesting. And you want to raise how much money? And we hired you because we thought you were the guy that could get out there and help us get this done. It goes on and on. I found it to be a little daunting. At the same time, I kept thinking, as I understood what the planners were talking about, how we could transform the campus. I mean, we could make a contribution here that would be alive and well for a couple generations of students. And I'm a Abraham Maslow kind of guy, and you got to take care of safety and security first before you can self-actualize yourself. And so it all made sense to me that this is where we should be putting a lot of effort after I came and really began to see our facilities and look at what we had done and then what we could do. And I guess I believe that in many ways the college is blessed that we have people in this community, people like Jim Bezzetta and others, that, and you're in this room, that have committed yourselves to step up and help us really transform our institution from a physical plant perspective. As we thought about leadership, and I had, you know, I have to tell you, this is my 5th community. I've never been in a community where I meet people and I instantly go, wow, that's really just a good person. You know, walking away, that's really a good person. Not that they do this job or this job, but that's just a good person. And I came in and met a lot of good people early on in my time here in this presidency. And determined that and assessed that they represented significant leadership in this town. And if they believed in our work, which I was hearing that they did, having their involvement in this campaign could only be an asset. And so it was and is just an honor for me to tell you that as we work with folks, Fred Keller, Doug DeVos, Hank Meyer, did not hesitate when we asked, will you be an honorary chairperson of our campaign? We believe others, knowing that you believe in us, can help us reach our goals. And today, because their calendars are absolutely nuts, we weren't able to get all 3 here in person. We have Hank, and I'm going to introduce Hank in a minute. But Fred Keller said, well, let me just do something. I'll make a little video for you. So I'd like to introduce Fred, who all of you know now as one of our honorary campaign chairpeople.
Hi, I'm Fred Keller, Chairman and CEO of Cascade Engineering. Thanks for letting me do this introduction via this methodology. Just want to lend my emphasis and importance to this campaign. The GRCC Works Asks Anyone campaign is a really neat title. I like the title. It expresses that we've got a gem in our community college. It has a huge, rich history. I was proud to chair the campaign that put the Applied Technology Center on campus. Turns out that was 20 years ago. That's longer than I thought or want to remember. People from the business community and suppliers can
demonstrate to the students and to the faculty and to other business people what their capabilities are.
The idea that the community college is such an important element of our educational process. We have a huge hurdle in this region to overcome in the next few years. About 30% of us in our greater Grand Rapids community have an associate's degree or higher. Research says, and our indications say, that we need to double that by about 2025. Pretty steep hurdle. And it's the Applied Technology Center and the things that we've done on this campus. The community college is the real driver for making that happen. Community colleges throughout our region can make the difference of achieving those goals. As a manufacturer, and in these times, these are pretty rough times, and yet the skill sets needed in the manufacturing world are not going down. They're increasing. That's true in any field, in any area. Education in general needs to be more engaging. It needs to be upgraded to meeting people where they are. And it's that kind of work that community college is really, really good at. Being able to have renovations in this building that I'm sitting in, for instance, right now, which will be more engaging for students, will allow teamwork, team learning together. These are simple but important changes that can make all the difference for the community college in the future. I'm proud to be play my role as a co-chair in this campaign. I think it is essential for the community, and I'm excited about being able to see the changes that are going to be unfolding in the next few years here. Thanks.
I'm going to ask Fred that growth in his ties. If you notice the early tie and the tie you had on there, says something. Not quite sure what it is, but I like that tie you had on quite a bit. Doug DeVos, I've met with I think 3 times around this campaign, and he has clearly said to me that he is ready to extend himself and his personal efforts to help us achieve these goals. And in fact has personally been someone who stepped up very early with a lead gift to the campaign that really got those of us that are doing some of the early work pretty excited about, this is going to happen. We're gonna make this go. And so we're going to be using Doug in the latter parts of the campaign as we're trying to wrap up our goals. But I want you to know that I know he is clearly committed to this work. And finally, Hank Meyer. I met Hank, one of the first people I met in March when I was here going through Ann Mulder's Hell Month that she had set up for me. Probably saved me 6 months, but I had to live through it. That was the... So I met Hank early on, and again, one of those folks that I just thought, this is a good guy, and I just knew this was a good guy, and I liked this guy a lot. And so I really found some ways that I want to get to know Hank a little bit better, if you will. And clearly, my interactions with Hank have just affirmed my initial kind of gut reaction to another human being as just being a wonderful person who cares deeply, and I mean cares deeply across the community. And so it was natural for me to ask Hank to help us with this campaign as an honorary chair. And again, he just did not hesitate. He just stepped right up and said, I would be proud to do that for the college, Steve. So it is with great pleasure that I now introduce to you a wonderful supporter and a person that is becoming a very good friend for me, Mr. Hank Meyer. Hank.
Thank you, President Ender. And I'm delighted to be a part of this campaign and to be here today among not only some new friends I've met for the first time, but a lot of old friends who've come together from a lot of sectors of our community. I know community college is vital to this community. It's important to Meyer. It's important to my family. And Dr. Ender was mentioning how much GRCC is part of the fabric of this community in ways that I didn't even think about until I get here. Then I recall, and I don't have the privilege of being a CC alum, but I did take some classes. I took an art history class. I took my first and only accounting class. And in the spectrum of financial expertise, Dan Webb, who's our chief financial officer, serves on the foundation board. So this campus and this educational experience has had a profound effect throughout our company as it has throughout the community. Our task in the coming months is very straightforward. We need to raise at least $15 million in gifts and pledges over the next year. We've not yet talked about our progress to date, and I know that Steve and Andy and a lot of you have been working very hard and quietly to assemble that, because as of today, we have raised more than $6.25 million toward that goal. And that involves commitments from our campaign leadership, from members of the DeVos family, as Dr. Ender mentioned, from the Wisners and the Bottrells, from the Meyer Foundation, and from several others. And as you can see, we're well on our way to a successful campaign. The payoff of our work is immense. We ensure that future students have access to the kind of high quality and affordable education that Jim Bezzetta spoke so eloquently about. We get to ensure that GRCC will work and that you'll be able to ask anyone and that we won't have to pull it up out of our memory because it's a part of our lives every day. We've got a lot of hard work ahead of us, and now Andy and Dave Custer are going to walk us. we're a customer of Dave's. Are going to walk us through the campaign and the work ahead of us. So thank you all for being here, and we look forward to the next phase. Thank you, Andy.
I just heard Dave lean over, say here, always thinking customers. That's good. That's good. Well, listen, my job this morning now is to walk you through the campaign. You've heard about the need. You've heard about the projects that are ahead of us. And now let's talk about the work. The first thing I'm going to do, they're being passed out to you now, are the binders. And just very, very quickly, I'm not going to walk through everything that's in here, but if you open it up, you will see the contents. You'll see the listing of the cabinet members as of earlier this week. We'll talk more about that in just a second. You'll see the case. You will see in here the case for support. You will see the agendas and so forth from today. Now, you also have in tab 3, you also have the PowerPoint slides in there. So when you're thinking about this campaign and think, well, now, what does that old Davenport campus look like? Well, you've got pictures in here and so forth. You've got ways to give. You've got the naming opportunities that come along with this campaign. We've put together for you a set of the anticipated frequently asked questions and responses. How is this going to work? What's the money going to be used for? Are they going to do a millage thing again? I mean, those sorts of questions that as you prepare to meet with prospective donors, those are things that you want to be aware of. And then for your reading pleasure, in the back, a number of the stories from this past year or so about Grand Rapids Community College. And then behind that are just a couple other pieces. Foundation Annual Report, the GRCC Magazine, that is one of the vehicles we use to tell our story about who we are and how we're serving the community. Let me go back to the front. There are 2 pieces of paper in the front for your review. One is a campaign cabinet recruitment form. One of the things that we learned early on about fundraising is you assemble a core team, and then you begin to look at and say, all right, now that we're making some progress, who are the other people that need to be joining us? So if you would take the time to think about, well, I've looked at the cabinet, I saw who was here, I see who's not here. boy, you know, so-and-so ought to be involved. And, you know, I'm real close to so-and-so, and you know what? I think that person's an alum. Maybe I ought to see if he or she would join us. So if you would do that and you could fax it back to us, you can scan it and email it back to you, you can just call us up and say, here's somebody, and either Andy will help you go talk to this person, or here's the name, the contact, you go talk to them. I'll let them know that you're going to come see them. And we'll start that process of having the conversation of building our cabinet, spreading the work across many people. And then behind that is your contact information. If by chance we'd made an error in how it's listed in there, again, you can just correct the information and shoot that back over to us. Folks, that's the binder. Trish, anything I forget in there?
There is a postage paid envelope
There you go.
if you'd like to just fill out the information and bring them back to us.
So our campaign structure looks like lots of campaign structures. Our honorary chairs, you've heard from 2 of the 3 this morning. You've heard from Jim Bezzetta, our campaign chair. And then we've got these major divisions as we look at our group of current and potential donors. They fall across these categories, the family division. And some of our chairs are here this morning who are working in each of these divisions. For example, in the family division, Paula Sullivan is here. Margot Anderson is here. Those are 2 of the chairs in this area. Family division, faculty, staff, students, retirees, boards, former board members. That's that prospect pool. Then we get into the major gifts area. And David Bottrell has agreed to chair this effort. And when we get into the timeline, we'll talk more about this. In the community and corporate division, we have 2 co-chairs, Peter Perez, and I haven't seen John yet this morning. I think he had a conflict this morning. Okay, and John Bultema from Fifth Third Bank. In the healthcare division, we're assembling that team as we speak. And in the alumni division, Bev Drake has agreed to be one of the co-chairs, and we are working to build a team of alums. And so to you chairs, and we will begin to divide you, and many of you we've asked to serve in this division of the campaign or that division of the campaign, and we will be coming back to you now and say, folks, it's time to go to work. Should I show the commercials? Let's show a couple quick commercials here, if we could, please. Running along this campaign will be a series of spots that will not announce the campaign, but tell the story about GRCC and how we're serving the community. Here's 3 of the spots that will be running.
GRCC Works. Ask anyone.
Ask me. I'm Dan Gendler, president owner of Sanchez Bistro and a GRCC alum. I was basically a lost soul and was able to be picked right up by CC, went there for 2 years, got a degree, and literally jump-started my career. So what more would you want from an institution than to get the people that are not employed? I couldn't have done it without it. It's accessible, and it's accessible for anyone.
GRCC Works. Ask anyone.
Ask me. I'm Tiffany Fant. I received my associate's degree from GRCC. Now I'm going to Western. I chose to go to GRCC because it was more affordable. I couldn't afford to go to a 4-year college my first 2 years out. The professors are very helpful. They stay after, they come early. They get you involved in all kind of activities. It just helps you be a better person. It makes you want to go out and help someone else. GRCC worked for me, and I feel that if it worked for me, it can work for anyone.
GRCC Works. Ask anyone.
Ask me, Denny Ryder, automotive technician at Gazan Motors. I used to work for a local furniture manufacturer and was laid off. By that fall, I was a full-time student at GRCC in their automotive program. I was very happy with the people I met there, the people that supported us. GRCC for the Grand Rapids area is pushing the way forward for all of us to get back out and do something with ourselves. GRCC worked for me, and it'll work for a lot of other people.
Prior to our last campaign, the open door campaign, and in the early phases and in the public phases of the campaign, we were running a series of commercials that helped just reinforce the message of who Grand Rapids Community College is and how we're serving the community. We will be doing that, and you've seen some of these commercials on TV already, and we will continue to roll these out throughout the campaign. You will see, these are just 3 that we've done so far. You will see them in healthcare, and you will see them in other areas of the student population and community that we serve. It supports the message of how GRCC is working for our community, for families, for individuals, for employers. So, there's that. Let's talk about the timeline of what's ahead of us. As you know, right now, we're holding our first cabinet meeting. We will keep our cabinet meetings to a minimum. One now, one as we publicly launch the campaign, and we'd anticipate one as we dismiss the cabinet and celebrate the successes of the campaign. Our job now is to continue to recruit cabinet members to join us in this effort. And I know that the more than $6.25 million that have been raised so far will be an impetus for people to want to jump on board with us. We're in the advanced phase and in the major gift phase of the campaign. That's what's gotten us to $6.25 million now, and that's what will continue to move us forward. We anticipate that work taking place through the beginning early spring. We are going through what we call the prospect identification and evaluation process, meeting with leadership of the various divisions, meeting with many of you and saying, all right, now here are the potential donors that we're looking at. Where do we think they fit in this campaign? What's the best process for going to ask them? Who are the best volunteers to make that connection? And so that pre-solicitation work for all of the other divisions will happen as well. And our process now includes the cultivation of potential donors along the way. And as I said, you will continue to see these commercials and other vehicles to support the campaign. This spring, it's our goal to launch the public phase of this campaign. When will that be? It'll be at the tail end of the major gifts phase of the campaign. As we have the momentum and ready to say, all right, community, we've gotten this far. Now it's time to move forward into the community and to go to a broader group of donors. And that's when the campaign really becomes public. Now, when you tell, 100 plus of your closest friends that you're out raising money to do this, it's no secret. But we will launch, it's our goal in this spring to launch that public announcement. Here's where we're at, and now we're coming to you, community, to ask for your help. That's when we'll go to the other divisions like the family, the community, the healthcare, and the alumni divisions. And we'll also be wrapping up the process. You know that decisions take time to make, and so we'll be wrapping up the advanced and major gifts during the spring, and that will continue through the fall. And at some point this fall, it would be our hope that we have worked through our list of prospects and others that you've added to the list, and that we get to the point where we can say, all right, now from here, maybe some of you will stay on with us to wrap up some of these calls, but it'll become a staff and board role to wrap it up. But it would be our hope that this fall, at some point, we would be able to celebrate, and that would be our third cabinet meeting. You've got not only all of you in this room, but you've got a great team, in my opinion, of folks coming behind you and alongside you to help make this work happen. And we've got a tremendous staff specifically devoted to this campaign. In addition to my working on it, you've got Tom Monahan, who's been a great guide to us back to the ATC campaign and throughout the process. And you all know Tom is a tremendous guide and experienced fundraiser, and we thank him for that. We also have Trish Castiglione in the back. Trish, who will be working with us. Aaron Sisler will be working to serve some of the divisions. And then you've got other staff from the foundation. Anne-Marie Burr, you'll talk to her on the phone at some point. Bertha Chivas will also be working with us. And then we've got 2 grant staff who will be supporting us behind the scene, Judith Larson and Lisa Dopke. So that's the staff you've got to help make your work all the easier. So that's the timeline. That's the work that we've got ahead of us. And now I'd like to take a moment to introduce our foundation board chair, Mr. Dave Custer, also an alum, a proud supporter of JC and CC.
And a customer of Meyer.
And a customer of Meyer. So,
Proud customer.
proud customer. Dave, thank you.
Yeah. If you're a customer of Meyer, you end up with a Meyer Gardens here in this community. If you go somewhere else, it goes to Arkansas or the money or something. So I'm a proud customer of Meyer. And I'm a proud graduate of junior college. I love this place. It gave me a start. I love it for what it does for the community. I think Jim alluded to it. We talk about it often. It's a hidden jewel to this community. And I don't know what this community would do without it. I couldn't have started college because at the time my parents couldn't afford to send me anywhere else. You know, if some of the other colleges in town, you've got to have a 3.5 grade point now to get in. What about the student that has a 2.2 or a 2.3 or a 1.7 because they haven't applied themselves yet? And where are they going to go if we didn't have the community college? There's so many things that the 1,000 workers on 36th Street at the GM plant, when they closed that down, they all had to be retrained because guess what? Big stamp, tool and dies and stamping plants, there's no jobs for that any longer. Who's going to train them? Well, we did. I read in the material something that surprised me. I think 50-some% of our first-time students out of high school, we have to give them remedial classes because they don't have the skills in either English, math, or science. Well, who's going to do that if we don't do it? The other colleges don't want to mess with that. So there's just so many things. I was talking to Doug DeVos the other day, and as he's gotten more involved in the campaign, he said, wow, I didn't know we did that. I didn't know we did that. And Hank and I were talking about that. There's so many things that the community doesn't know that we do. I was talking to Dr. Buckery. We graduated from Ottawa Hills together and came to the community college and have done pretty well in life because of our college education. And so we've raised families in the Forest Hills School District, and the Forest Hills School District is fairly affluent and one of the top school districts in the state, and turn out very bright students. And I told him, I asked him if he knew this, that more graduates from Forest Hills go to the community college than any other higher education school, more than Grand Valley, Michigan State, Western Central, Davenport, blah, blah, blah. And that shocked him because you tend to think of Forest Hills, and I think the same may be true of East. It is true. And true of Rockford and other good school districts as well. And you tend to think of affluent students and students that are smart and good grade points that they're all going to go. Well, they don't all go to Michigan. They don't all go to Western and Central and Michigan State and so forth. And so we serve such a need, and I hope you're getting excited for what we're doing. Everybody presented a good case, and 15 million isn't that much. We can do it. That's I keep telling Steve we're 40% there already, and this group can raise the other 60%, and I'm confident we can do it. We just have to get the message out. And when you see and hear what you heard today, it's a pretty easy call and a pretty easy message to get out. So I just want to reinforce, what do we expect of you? Yeah, there's going to be a few meetings, but as Andy said, only 3, and you got one of them out of the way already. So we'll probably have another meeting halfway through when we start the public portion of the campaign. Then we'll have a fun meeting. That won't be till next fall. and we'll close down the campaign. We'll celebrate getting that 15 million, and by then we'll have some ceiling tiles in here. We'll be able to afford those, and maybe have a projector mounted on the ceiling or something, and so that'll be a fun meeting. As Andy said, we need your help in identifying potential candidates for the cabinet. Steve is amazed. I am. A lot of people are. Wherever you go, you find people that have some tie to GRCC. Oh, yeah, I went there. Like Hank said, Hank took a couple classes there. My brother went there. I mean, wherever you go. And so if there are some people that can help join us, because the more people we've got on this cabinet making a few calls, first of all, the less calls the rest of us will have to make, but the bigger outreach we'll have. So think of some other people that would be good and be willing to make a few calls. And as Andy said, get the form back to him, and we'll take care of that. We need your help in identifying donors. You may, again, you may think of somebody, you know, so-and-so's an alumnus, or so-and-so's company has a lot of people that have gone to CC, or CC has trained a lot of their people. They might want to help the campaign. So we need to know names, and as Andy said, each of you will be in a division. You'll be in major gifts or community or health or family or whatever. And you'll probably have one meeting of that division, and that's the time to bring names, because you'll be reviewing lists of people to call on. And that's the time to say, hey, so-and-so isn't on this list, and great, let's put them on. And that leads me to the part that is the most important, and that's where we need you to make 4 to 6 calls. That's not bad, that's not many. Over the next 6 months, that's, you know, maybe 1 a month. We'd like you to do a little faster than that, but it's not many calls. And if you can only make 4, that's fine too. But we need you to make some calls. And the good thing is, if you need some help, and Andy talked a little bit about this, we're here to help you. The campaign leadership, somebody on the foundation staff, Steve will go on a call with you, Andy will go on a call, I'll go on a call with you. There's lots of people to go on calls with you. So sometimes people feel, well, I don't know enough about the college to make a good call. Well, we'll send somebody with you. So don't worry about that. Sometimes people are a little skittish about asking for money. We'll help you with that. We'll do the ask if you want, and so that's not a problem. And then this is simple. Keep your division chair informed of your progress. So if you make a call, we want you to call, if you're in major gifts, to call David or drop him an email and say, yeah, called on so-and-so, and they're going to get back to us, or they committed $5,000 or whatever it was. And then finally, no surprise, we need your commitment in support of this campaign, whether it's personal or whether it's a corporate gift. Getting 100% is important. It shows support, your support. When we go to foundations, sometimes that's the first question they ask. Do you have 100% support of your staff and your cabinet? And so we need your support, whether it's personally or if you're with a corporation or company and it's a corporate gift, that's fine. And I don't care if it's $5 or $5 million, but we do need that. So we ask for your consideration in that. Steve cares, and I kind of do. I'd rather have 500 than 5, but if 5 is all that you can do, we'll take the 5. So, okay, that's it. You've been thanked a number of times, and I want to thank you too, because we can't do this without you. I mean, the people sitting at this table, we can make some calls, but you need the power of numbers. And so if we've got 50 or 60 people out there making 5 or 6 calls, we'll raise the 15 million. And so we thank you. And I know some people, well, we're going to end early. I love meetings that end early. And if anybody has any questions, Andy, or I will be glad, or Steve will be glad to answer. Any questions? Great. Oh, there, Peter. Good question. I'll let Andy or Steve. We do have, Peter said, how are we going to get out to the whole region? Because we do have classes in Holland and Byron Center and some other areas, so I'll let them address that.
A lot about Ottawa County, because we clearly have a significant presence there. And we're just not ready to pull the trigger, if you will, with active solicitation for this reason. There is a conversation going on in Ottawa County around the whole notion of being part of this community college district. And we are not driving that conversation, nor do I think we should, quite frankly. That really is a decision of the residents there and the leadership there to see if they would agree to come into this district. It would save their students hundreds of dollars on a 3-credit-hour course. And of course, that's what we're concerned about, that we'll literally price those students out of the market with the out-of-district tuition that they pay, double of what an in-district person would. So saying all that, and I think we'll have a sense of where this is going to go in a timely way, that because we have identified folks we would go to, Peter, but if that whole notion of being part of the district really begins to take on a life of its own, we might be raising money there for the extension of the college in that county. So I think we have to be a little careful right now of what we do as far as direct solicitation. Okay, yeah, it's a good question. Other questions? The one thing we haven't said that I think is important for you to know, we do have opportunities, it would appear, to leverage the dollars that we are raising for this campaign through another bill that is now through the House and in the Senate, and it's the President's Graduation Initiative legislation, which is earmarked for community colleges. And it's one of the few that I've ever seen, and I do believe this is going to pass. It's been held up because of health care debate in the Senate, but I do think the House has already passed their version. And in that bill, there's $2.5 billion for community colleges to use for renovation and capital work. And there's a formula of how this would all flow to a singular college, Grand Rapids Community College. As we do the math, it looks like we could be eligible for $8 million of those monies. The stipulation is, for every $3 we would raise, the federal government would match $1. As this becomes reality, and we are actually working with our donors saying, really would like to receive your money after October 1 of this year, because this legislation would go in effect for 11, so we could match those dollars. So, you know, I am cautiously optimistic that $15 million could turn into $20 million. And if we want all $8 million, we need to raise 24. But that's my own personal goal. That's, you know, that's not your goal. That's my own. But I will tell you, the day that I learn the money is real and I see $8 million sitting on that table, we might have an emergency meeting, you know, because I just don't think you leave money sitting on the table. So you know, there's things that are going on. The community colleges are being recognized by this country. I don't think community colleges have ever been so well positioned in the higher education sector as we are right now. And I have found, as I've worked with folks with this campaign, a real eagerness and a recognition that we are working for this community. And it has not been a hard sales job at all. It's been very, very easy. And I think it's because of all the good work this institution has done for so long, and the recognition that we're receiving statewide and nationally as one of the higher ed sectors that really can help pull this country out of the economic mess that we're in today. So I want to echo David's words of thanks. We cannot do it without you. And in some ways, it's just like when I was in high school and I wanted a date on Friday night. You know, I knew if I asked 10 people, I'd get a date, you know. So I'd make my list and I'd start calling. So it's the same philosophy, folks. You just, you know, you make your list and you go to work, and at the end of the day, you're successful. I appreciate your help very sincerely, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
We're adjourned. Thank you.